On Saturday morning, Sello Dada Morero was officially sworn in as mayor of the city of Johannesburg. This comes after a motion of no confidence in Mpho Phalatse was passed on Friday. Key to the unfolding of these events is the decision by the Patriotic Alliance to vote with the opposition to elect the new Speaker of Council, Kunene. Joining me now to discuss the reasons behind their decision and to respond to the appointment of the new mayor is Deputy President of the Patriotic Alliance, Kunene. Mr. Kunene, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. Let's start our conversation with that response to the removal of Dr. Mpho Phalatse and, of course, the swearing in of Dada Morero as the new Executive Mayor of Johannesburg.
Thank you very much for having us. First, it started with the Speaker. That is where the dispute started. When Action SA proposed that IFP should be given Speaker after the Speaker, Vasco da Gama, was voted out. And you'd remember that we voted with Vasco da Gama to stay. However, the numbers were not in our favor. And whilst we were deliberating that, the DA refused. In fact, the DA wrote a letter and said they rejected any proposal to reconfigure the council and the mayoral committee. The attitude was so arrogant, so disrespectful. And then we decided that since the DA does not want to be democratic, all the parties, including the Freedom Front Plus, agreed that it was right for IFP to take Speaker now that the opportunity has presented itself. So the arrogance of the DA and the disrespect to all of us led to us taking that decision. On the eve of the voting for the Speaker, Solim Simanga wrote a scathing opinion on one of the online platforms where he called all political parties in the coalition minor parties, rent seekers. You'll remember that there was a tweet that was sent out by the DA where they called coalition parties partners hyenas. So we could not take such insults anymore, especially in the city of Joburg. Then we decided that we are going to vote with Colleen Makubele to be the Speaker. And subsequent to that, there was no engagement from the DA or anyone else. And we then decided that we'll then vote for the DA mayor, for the ANC mayor, I beg your pardon.
Well, Mr. Kunene, the multi-party coalition that emerged from the local government elections last year was instrumental in relegating the ANC to the opposition benches. Today, we now have an ANC man leading the Johannesburg Council. What role did you play in that? And talk to us about that swinging of allegiance.
Look, we were right in the middle. Had we voted with the DA multi-party coalition, things would have gone their way. But we made a conscious decision that let us engage the ANC since the ANC was engaging us. And through those engagements, we then agreed on how we're going to move forward to service our people. Remember, what is important is servicing our people. And once we had agreed on the way forward, how we're going to do this, how we're going to hit the ground running, how we're going to deal with issues of corruption, how we're going to deal with issues of officials who are protected by politicians, and how we're going to make sure that the budget does not only speak to northern suburbs, but the budget also speaks to Alex, to Soweto, to Deep Sloot, to El Dorado Park. Once we had agreed with the ANC, we then said, let us rather give the ANC a chance with the other political parties. Let us work together to service our people, because clearly the DA sees itself as a big brother and they don't see us as equals in this coalition. And we must remember that people of the city of Joburg voted for different parties. And that vote means that if they did not give any of the parties a majority vote, they are saying, get into a power sharing agreement and service us together. Whether it is the ANC, whether it is the DA, it does not matter. By the way, we view the ANC and the DA in the same light. However, we had a better agreement when we had discussions on how we are going to move forward. And that is why we then decided that we are going to vote with the African National Congress and give their mayor a chance.
It does sound as though, the relationship that you're describing between the two parties, the Democratic Alliance and the ANC, is that the latter has been more accommodating when it comes to coming to some sort of a shared agreement between the organizations. I want to talk about the issue around the legal threats that were brought forward by the Democratic Alliance. What can you tell us about those?
Yes, the letter that they wrote to us also spoke to the threats. In fact, Charles Cilliers, who is our head of strategy and negotiations, said in the meeting that we had as coalition partners on Sunday that we don't take kindly to legal threats. The problem with the DA is that FedEx...
But, sorry, Mr. Kunene, what was the Democratic Alliance threatening to do in that letter?
It was in saying that whoever breaks the agreement, the DA will then look at the courts to enforce these agreements. And we had to lecture them that whoever has advised them legally must go back to university, because these agreements are not contracts. These agreements are based on an agreement where the parties must respect each other, and if there isn't such respect, then the councillors can vote as they wish. So we really did not take kindly to it. Now, I was just saying, FedEx, I felt for John Steenhuisen because he's a great guy as a person. But I think when you listen to him when he spoke, he was saying FedEx has taken a decision. FedEx has taken a decision. So FedEx can't run councils from Cape Town. When parties discuss issues and a leader is deployed to handle such issues with the multi-party coalition, the leader must be given an opportunity and the powers to make decisions. But we can't have a situation where all the parties are saying one thing and only the DA is refusing. And the leader of the DA does not even have powers to say, look, I understand, I agree with you, let us move forward. But he has to go back to Cape Town and come back to us. It cannot be.
The struggle, Mr. Kunene, that we've seen in our coalition governments, particularly the multi-party coalition in the City of Johannesburg over the last couple of weeks, has sort of brought to the fore for Joburg residents just how difficult it is to actually maintain a coalition. The cracks that we've been seeing are a cause for concern. Should the residents of Johannesburg retain confidence in the ability of coalition governments to successfully run local municipalities?
If you look at the DA coalitions, they are always chaotic. Look at what happened in Tshwane. Look at what happened in Nelson Mandela Bay. Look at what happened in Joburg during the time of Herman Mashaba. They just deserted the city. So the coalitions of the DA are chaotic. Coalitions in their nature are not chaotic. There has been coalitions that has been successful because there's mutual respect. The problem with the DA is this big brother mentality. The problem with the DA is this master mentality, where they see all other parties led by black leaders as being followers. They are the ones that must instruct. We cannot allow that. So coalitions in their nature are not a problem. The people of South Africa are voting in such a way that coalitions are established so that we can service them together. However, if you are going to be the boss when you don't have a majority, we cannot entertain you. we will definitely walk out of that coalition and go and negotiate a better deal for our people.
But isn't that the essence of the instability that we've been seeing in the local governments that you've just highlighted for us, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay? The fact that while you've laid the blame squarely at the feet of the Democratic Alliance for the failure of these coalitions, it is in fact your organizations and the 8 seats that you enjoy in the Johannesburg Council that once upon a time swung in favor for the DA and now swing in favor for the opposition. So one may assert that the instability is brought about by your party's actions.
No. You see, our parents and our great-grandparents subjected themselves to this master's authority of certain white people. And the DA's FedEx has got that mentality that we must just follow, they will instruct. We'll never take an instruction from FedEx. And if that means that then we are going to be blamed, let it be. We have discussed issues in our constituencies with the DA. Crime just skyrocketed in El Dorado Park. People getting killed. Electricity being a serious problem. The DA ignored. The people of El Dorado Park voted for us in numbers. 80% of the votes in those 2 wards were given to the Patriotic Alliance. But the DA was not coming to the party. So it is a number of issues. The DA has taken all MMCs of finance in the 3 metros. Tshwane, they cannot pay salaries. Ekurhuleni, they could not pay service providers. They actually put a moratorium on new projects that must service our people. In Johannesburg, they could not pay service providers. So it is a number of issues, but we're dealing with those issues. But then, when they showed this arrogance and rudeness, we then had to leave. It can't be Patriotic Alliance when so many parties have got the same problem with the DA. And you saw, after we had voted for Mekolin as the speaker, Action SA was at war with the DA. And Action SA also laid the blame on the DA. So why would so many parties blame the DA if the DA is not at fault? They need to do an introspection, because where we are, remember we've been in coalitions from 2016. We have learned a lot as a party. We've got mayor in Theovatuskloof municipality in the Western Cape since the 1st of November, the end of November last year. That coalition is stable. It has never been under threat. Although that municipality is led by the mayor deployed by the Patriotic Alliance.
Right.
We have got a mayor in Karoo Hoogland in the Northern Cape. That coalition has never been under threat. It is led by a mayor deployed by Patriotic Alliance. We've got a mayor in Beaufort West. That coalition has never been under threat, despite the fact that the mayor is deployed by Patriotic Alliance. We've got a mayor in the Central Karoo district and a deputy mayor. The mayor is our president. There is no threat to that coalition. Why? Because we treat coalition partners as equals. We respect them. We consult with them. So those coalitions have been stable from November till now, and they will go on for 5 years.
Well, Mr. Kunene, thank you so much for your time and for coming on to this morning's platform. Deputy President there of the Patriotic Alliance, Kenny Kunene, just giving us his reaction there to the latest developments in the Johannesburg Council.